and welcome. Awesome. We are live. This is not a recording. This is absolutely live. Hello, welcome, Stephen, Dominic, Pat, Susan, Patrick is in the house. Fantastic. What's going on? Big hearts, Michelle. Good to see you, Naomi. We're going to get started in a couple of minutes, waiting for folks to join. Get yourself acquainted to this webinar kit. Type in the chat where you're coming in from and also what business you're in so we can get started. You'll see there's chat and there's offer. Just on the chat side, just type in there, hey. Type in there, can you hear me? Can you see me? Thumbs up. Yes. Can you hear me? Can you see me? Stephen, Dominic, Pat, Susan, can you hear me? Rena, yes. Beautiful. Awesome. So type in the chat where you're coming in from and also what is your industry? Let's get acquainted. And who's the furthest person away from me? I'm in New York. Who's the furthest person away from me? Type in the chat where are you coming in from? Just a minute. This is a live session. This is not a recording. And so we are just setting up here. Connecticut, not too far from New York. All right. So we've got Naomi, Patrick, Jebin. Jebin's in the house. Welcome. Welcome. Type in the chat where you're coming in from and what business you're in. We're going to get started in just a couple minutes. Got a lot of ground to cover. I'm really excited that you guys are here. If you can hear me and see me, just say so in the chat. This is a conversation. We're trying to have a large group. Professional staffing services, Houston, Michelle, good to see you again. I think I know you. Awesome. FinTech, Michael, welcome. This is for CEOs. This is a CEO workshop. So if you're not a CEO or you're not an owner of a business, you don't need to be here. You can do something else. Awesome. Pat, Northern Virginia, AI booking solutions for small businesses. Great. Awesome. Uh, Renee, founder, Sooner Automation. Great. Automation is all the rage. All right, so let's get started. Hello, welcome, Brian. Awesome. Welcome to the masterclass. We're going to get started in a minute here. Just type in the chat where you're coming in from and what business you're in. Hello, Rajesh. Awesome. Big hearts. I know there's a lot to see on the screen. I'm going to go super fast. So this is the 30-day company GPT setup. It's not a technical meeting. It is actually a strategic positioning meeting we're going to have today, taking the guise of a 30-day company GPT setup because it is about how we're using AI, and that's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about the 5 shifts that smart CEOs make to drive growth with 100% on-brand AI copywriter at zero cost, no sick days. So I do these master classes live once a month. We're very busy right now, really grateful to be. It's just booming. And but I do these master classes to really share what's working for as many people as possible. And I'm really glad you're here because what you're going to experience today is going to require an open mind. It's going to be an experience. You may want to take notes. So welcome. We're going to get started. And I think while we're going to talk about GPT, the reality is you're probably using GPT to, or your team is using it for marketing and for sales. Well, why don't you just type in the chat, how are you using GPT and AIs today? Type in the chat. Are you using AI for sales, marketing, and growth? Type in the chat, how are you using it? And I think that there's some fatal flaws that we have in blind spots with marketing, and this is one of them. I hope you don't see your website that way. And everything has changed. The world has changed, certainly with AI being used. And I see so many companies really being slow to adopt. And I think in the next 6 months, the first movers are going to have a huge advantage. And those of you that aren't using AI in your sales and marketing, in your growth, are going to be left behind. And I don't want that to happen. So great for sales sheet writing, Refine messaging for the product and sales activities. That's great. Michelle, sales campaign content design. Then we personalize. Oh, interesting. We'll talk about that. Like, when should you be doing the personalization? That's cool. So, AI aside, your marketing likely has some fatal flaws in it. And we're going to be talking about that today. AI that you're using doesn't know your story and can't tell your story unless you teach it. But how do you teach it? Do you teach it after it has written things for you? Or do you teach it before it has written things for you? And this is the crux of what we're going to be talking about today. If you're positioned the wrong way, your AI integrated marketing and your GPT and your Claude will fail. And I think you're here because you probably found that out already. Because if you're positioned the wrong way and your prospects are reading what you think is really great copy, but they're being confused by solutions that are nothing like yours. Has that ever happened to you, by the way, with either GPT copy or your own marketing content that type in yes or no in the chat, that people were just confused about what you were selling and had to ask a few times and they looked at your website, they looked at your marketing material. So AI is not going to solve that problem unless you help it solve that problem. That's really the crux of what we're going to be talking about today. The 30-day company GPT setup, 5 shifts smart CEOs make to drive growth with a 100% on-brand copywriter at zero cost, no sick days. And I mean, we're going to zoom into that 100% on-brand content machine that you guys are going to own. I want you to own that. And that's great. But in order to get to that, you need to really refine your positioning and strategy. And this is going to talk about the 5 shifts. So we're going to get to that. Else, marketing is a money pit. And that's because it's done wrong. So I want to help you guys get to 2025 with zero copywriting costs. This is doable. This is actually doable for many of our customers. And everyone on your team using a private custom GPT that's trained on your story. Welcome, welcome. So that if you're wasting money on ads, and I'm not sure if any of you spending money on ads, and if you are, the reality is, I think 78% of ads aren't profitable, and that's because when people arrive at where the ads are sending them, it's not converting because people are either confused when they get there or the messaging is really bad. So we're going to be talking about how you can take $3,000 or $8,000 worth of billable marketing content that can be reduced to just a couple bucks if it's done right, and getting you and your team using AI in the right way so that you can grow like wildflowers. So I wanted to talk today, and if you guys are here, tell me if you've realized this as well, that the impact on AI in business, it's a K-shaped economy. It's widening. The gap is widening. And I think you guys are here today because you want to learn how to use AI for your business. And I'm excited about having this conversation. Because I believe by 2026, there are going to be two kinds of businesses that are using AI in the right way, and businesses that are out of business. So it's going to happen pretty fast, from what I'm seeing. The tea leaves that I am reading here. So I'm Greg Rosner, and I'm the head of an AI integrated sales and marketing agency. And the reason why I'm that and we are that is so that you can be integrating AI into your sales and marketing. And it starts with story because the story is the strategy. And this is why AI will fail you unless you train AI on that right story. And so you're going to get, the AI on brand content machine to create GPT magnets, even, and lead magnets and sales emails and amazing proposals and marketing newsletters. And you're going to be able to do all that. You're going to own this, and it's virtually going to be free. But what you do need to invest in is getting your strategy and your positioning right and training up the AIs to do that. And we're going to be talking about the 5 shifts today that you need to take to make in order to make that happen. All right. So if you guys are psyched to get started, give me a yes in the chat and we will get started. A yes, let's go. We got Renee, Heather, Dominic, Rajesh. All right. Awesome. So, guys, I want to thank you for taking the time to work on your business. That's what we're going to do together here. Please participate. Please jump in. I know Type in the chat, have you been a bit disappointed by the marketing you're getting out of your marketer or the marketing that you're getting out of ChatGPT? Are you a little disappointed by that? I mean, if you didn't have to do the strategy stuff and the positioning stuff, then you probably would just get GPT to write everything for you. Like you'd be delighted with what comes out of it. So you're probably here, yes or no in the chat, that you'd probably be a little disappointed. And the untrained AI will just make you blend in your industry. And I imagine, I'm just guessing here, that your goal is to stand out. So about AI, most people are using GPT at that base level and then trying to do prompting and prompting to get it to do stuff that you like. But that's not the way that you as a business owner should be using AI. You really should be creating custom GPTs or trained GPTs that you're having chats with, multiple chats with, hundreds of chats with, and everyone on your team is having chats with trained GPTs. So it's likely that using GPTs at layer one, you should be using GPTs at layer three. Just give me a one or three in the chat. Um, are using having chats with custom GPTs today that you've made, or only chats with different models like O1 or 4.0. Okay, Renee's awesome. You're having chats with GPTs that you've made. That's great. Dominic, 1 and 2. That's great. Great. So you guys are on the right path. So have you already built a GPT have you trained a GPT on your brand story yet? Give me a yes or no in the chat. Michael, yes. Michelle, no. Charles, no. Okay. All right. So it's not about the prompt. It's not about a single prompt. It's about almost giving it a 30-page prompt so that it knows everything about your business. So it's really about the training and the framing. Uh, because if you're spending money, and who here is spending on money on marketing their website? If you just rebranding your website, but it's doing nothing for sales, it's likely that even if you used AIs to write it, or even if you paid someone to write it, or even if you spent a lot of money on someone to write it, it may be doing nothing for sales unless it's following these frameworks that we're going to be talking about today. So let me ask you a question. What's more important, your product or your message? It's a tough question for a lot of people, a lot of CEOs, innovators, but type in the chat. What's more important? Yeah, Renee, Heather, Rajesh, everyone here seems to be saying message. I agree. I agree. And so your product is super important. You need to have a great product that customers love. But what really is standing in the way is your brand message, if that isn't clear. And so ChatGPT and AIs aren't going to help you with that unless you tell it your story and train it. We're going to be talking about what you need to do exactly in this masterclass today. I would encourage you to stop tolerating embarrassment about your website. You are not years away from dominating your industry. You're really what I like to say a narrative shift away. And the fifth shift that we're going to be talking about today using OpenAI will only work once you've made the first four shifts. And this is the hard work. This is the hard work you need to do on your business. And AI is not going to do it for you. They can help ideate with you, but they're not going to do it for you. We work with our clients to help do this. In fact, we just finished a project with aware.com. They're a biometrics intelligence company. And they are a publicly traded company, and they really dialed in their messaging, trained an AI with a GPT so that everybody on their team could get any content they've written. They're basically seeing a 25x efficiency gain in using a GPT that's trained on their business, all across their business, with speed and clarity, writing safer, writing better quality, writing much faster, and of course much cheaper content using the trained AI. So we work with a lot of great CEOs, and none of them have these in common. They don't have a boring story. None of them are embarrassed by their website. None of them are wasting time on marketing, and none of them are paying team members to do things that can be automated right now. None of them haven't integrated AI into their sales and marketing. So this is something I'm encouraging you guys to do, and we're going to be talking about how to do that. So ground rules, this is not for spectators. I want you to participate with me. I need this. You need this to get a lot of value out of it. Ground rule number two is I'm going to challenge you to think about your business in a different way. You will not be able to look at your homepage or speak your sales message the same way again. And I know you came here today to talk about how we're going to bring AI to the equation, but guess what? Surprise, surprise. The only way that AI is going to be great if you collaborate with it and train it in the right way. And that's why these five shifts need to happen. There will not be a replay. This is a live conversation, and that's the way I roll. I like to have live conversations with you, and I'm excited. So, who do we got here? Type in the chat if you guys are ready to jump in the first shift. There's also going to be giveaways at the end. The giveaways are I'm going to give out a 16-part magnetic messaging framework, which is like a template. You can make sure that you have the right structure, not just in having your homepage right, but are you training your AIs with the messaging in the right way? I'm also going to give you the 12 sales conversations that you need to have for large deals. I would say 50 to 100K deals. If you're closing those deals or trying to close those deals, if you miss one of these conversations, you're likely that's the reason why you have lost those deals. And the third thing I'm going to give away is a GPT, which is a homepage messaging evaluator. So you put in your homepage or that of your competitors, and it'll give you a step by step, piece by piece, uh, s- um, scoring and evaluation on your current messaging and whether it really aligns with a magnetic messaging framework that we're talking about today. And these are pieces of the magnetic messaging framework that you can see a lot has to happen on your homepage. Your homepage is your best presentation or it isn't. And when someone comes to your homepage in 7 seconds, they need to know what you're doing, what you're selling, what problem do you solve, who is this for? Is it for them? Do you want them to, what do you want them to do? All these questions have to be answered very quickly. And if you don't do that, they are just going to bounce. So that's what this magnetic messaging framework is. And also, if you don't know, I wrote the book called Storycraft for Disruptors. It's on Amazon. You can get yourself a copy. But as a fun giveaway, I'm going to give you guys a PDF copy of this book for free for participating today. You're going to get that. But certainly buy a copy on Amazon. If you like to hold books in your hand and read them on snowy days, as I do, please buy yours. And I appreciate an honest review as well. So I will not pitch you. I will not sell you something here. This is free. And at the end, I'll be offering, though, five CEOs an opportunity to book a free 45-minute AI integrated sales and marketing enablement session with me and my team if you're a fit for that. So, does that sound fair? Give me a yes or no in the chat if this sounds fair to you. I know I'm using the F word here. Does that sound fair? I learned that from Christopher Voss. I'm a disciple of Christopher Voss. Who else here is a disciple of Chris Voss, FBI hostage negotiator? I certainly am. I love him as well. So type in the chat, who is your ideal customer? Because how well you understand your customer is your biggest competitive advantage. And also type in the chat, give me a one in the chat if you are here and you're selling an innovation or you're revolutionizing something in your industry. Give me a one in the chat. Jan, we got a one. Charles, two. You're not. Dominic, one. Pat, that's great. Rajesh, two. Okay, so this may not be for you, but I guess for people who did say that you're revolutionizing something in your industry, bringing innovation to your customers, the bad news here is says who? Says who? Is that you that is saying that you're bringing in innovation and revolutionizing? So that's the first lead up to the first shift here, because like I found this on a website. Who are we? Trust and courage, accountability, compassion. Would you believe a company that said they're bringing an innovation to the market and they're revolutionizing their industry through trust and courage and accountability? Give me a yes or no in the chat. Would you buy that from a company that said that on their homepage? So, no. So, you guys already have caught yourself that you would not really say in your marketing that you are offering a revolution or selling an innovation, because this doesn't work. It doesn't work in markets that are flooded with solutions. So I'm a little curious for Rajesh and Charles, who you said you're not here because you're not selling innovation. I wonder what you're doing here, because most people who are here are CEOs that are bringing really a breakthrough product and innovation to their customers, even though they may not say it. That's what they believe. So Rajesh and Charles, type in the chat, are you here because that's what you believe, or do you believe you're selling just another minivan, so to speak? So just type in just another minivan if that's you. Anyway, good news. The world needs your solution, and I'm glad you're here. So Charles, you're not selling just another minivan, so I'm glad you're here. Um, and Rajesh, I need to hear back from you, but maybe we don't know what you're doing here. So who am I? I am the CEO of PitchKitchen. We're an AI integrated sales and marketing agency. I have custom trained 95 now, custom GPTs for organizations, public and private, eliminating, I do some back of napkin math, about $5 million in marketing spend, which is amazing. And I'd love to help you guys do that. I have personally sold about 35 million in software and sales, so I know something about what it takes to sell, and brought that knowledge into building out PitchKitchen. I have designed and helped my team, and I have built about 3,000 websites and sales presentations and messaging frameworks that have earned at least $100 million. So I am grateful for those opportunities. I'm also the author of the book Storycraft, which you can get on Amazon. So I'd say this masterclass today is not for those who do not run or own their business, not the C-suite, businesses that don't sell an innovative product, businesses that don't already have successful customers. So if that's you, Rajesh, you do not have, sorry to pick you out, but you did say no there before. If you don't have successful customers, then this is not for you. And this is not for you if you're not committed to helping your customers, or if you've grown like 500% by 2023. Maybe this is not for you because you're doing great. Anyway, this is my promise to you: how to nail your sales message, even if your solution is complicated, sophisticated, needs to be demoed; how to turn your homepage into a home run for perfect buyers. And that's a baseball reference for those of you that don't play baseball. And I realize that baseball is like kind of going away for a lot of people. Who here likes baseball anyway? So Rajesh, we are selling improvised minivan that gives you better average at lower cost. Okay. So we're gonna have to talk about that, Rajesh, because there's no problem in that statement. And people don't, money follows pain. Money doesn't follow typically gain. So we'll talk about that. Great. Why it's game over for most marketing playbooks, and what you need to do instead, and how to attract ideal customers into buying conversations and lead your category, even if they've never heard of your solution, and how to get AI to create a torrent of 100% on brand content without hallucinations or fancy prompting. All right. Stephen, you like baseball. That's great. I like baseball too. I grew up playing baseball, but I don't know. A lot of kids aren't playing baseball like they used to. Anyway, is this you? First, your solution is amazing. Your customers love you, but you and your salespeople are working so hard trying to explain why your customers should buy it. If that's you, give me, I don't know, give me a 9 in the chat if that's you. It should be a no-brainer for your prospects, your customers, but for some reason it is a brainer. Give me a 9 in the chat. You have a marketer marketing all day long, but it isn't turning into sales. Give me a 9. You've asked GPT to write you a blog post marketing, and it was just kind of meh, or just lackluster, or using some words that were so giveaway, like this is AI, this isn't me speaking or my great marketing speaking. Give me a 9 in the chat. A lot of your sales are ending in, sorry, a lot of your demos are not ending in sales, even 6 months later. Give me a 9 in the chat. If you see win rates going down and sales cycle increasing, average deal size decreasing, give me a 9 in the chat. If you have read a lot of these books, like This is Marketing from Seth Godin, amazing. Building a Story Brand from Donald Miller, amazing. Gap Selling from Keenan, amazing. If you've read these books, but then if you look at your actual marketing and it's not doing the things that you know, then you haven't made these shifts. Give me a 9. Knowing isn't doing. Give me a 9 in the chat if that's you. If you got salespeople working for you and it's very much relationship based, and they're basically um, saying and we're selling on different platforms, as it will. One's talking about how we're the only, maybe one we're the best, and differentiating for like almost like they're working for two different companies. Everyone's telling a different story. Then you haven't made these shifts, and AI is not going to help you if you haven't made these shifts. If you're spending money on a website guy and an SEO gal or social media person, PPC, but you seem to be missing a single compelling story that's woven into the DNA of every word, every blog post, everything you're producing, then give me a 9 in the chat because you haven't made the shift if that's the case. If your website is, or let's say your sales presentation, looks like more like a document with page numbers that's trying to like compensate for the fact that your website isn't doing the selling, and your website is using language like this, like look at these words on this website: creating innovative workflow technologies that drive high or like what in God's name are these guys selling? Like, I'm sorry, fancy words do not work anymore. And speak about fancy words, if you're using any of these words, I mean, let's be honest, this is a master class. Let's use, if you're using any of these words, and you could bet your bippy, as my dad says, that ChatGPT is using a lot of these words, most of them. Give me a 9 in the chat if you're using self-ascribed marketing language from 2010 on your 2025 website and marketing material. Give me a 9 in the chat. And if you've already given me a 9, give me an 8 in the chat just for this one, because this is like a real, just give me an 8 if this is okay. So clarity beats buzzwords every time, and twice on Sunday. And I know I mixed metaphors there. Then you haven't made these shifts that you do need to make. So slides are often a Franken deck, and that hinders sales. If you're thinking, oh, let's just produce case studies, we just need more case studies. Oh, we just need an ROI calculator, and they'll buy more. Or if we have our how it works video, or let's do a podcast. But the reality is, none of the stuff that you're creating is actually helping people convert into customers. Then you haven't made these shifts, the 4 or 5 shifts we're going to be talking about. If you're thinking to yourself, how could sales messaging be simple? Because what you're selling is sophisticated to a sophisticated audience. You really haven't made these shifts. All right. So the good news, the wonderful news here for you guys, and I love you that you're here to get this, is that those are symptoms. The real problem is that you have not made these shifts, and you need to make them in order for your business to grow like wildflowers and for you to use AI effectively. But once you do, you're going to have complete confidence in what you're spending. You're going to lead your category in a category of one. Your leadership team will finally be aligned, and that means your salespeople as well. You will be able to create tons of 100% on brand content everywhere, every month, without hiring anyone, and attract ideal prospects showing up predisposed and ready to buy. That's the great stuff that's going to happen. And let's dive right into it. The first shift that you need to make is to lead a movement. Lead a movement. So, what do I mean by leading a movement? So, many of you said you're selling an innovation, I think, except for Rajesh, who is selling an improvised minivan. All right, I don't mean to pick on you, but if you're selling an innovation, what does your innovation challenge? It's something new, it's something different. What's it different than? What are you saying? What are you saying doesn't work anymore? So type in the chat, what does your innovation challenge? And typically you're challenging the enemy of that story, of the story, that is the common enemy between you, your business, like that's why you created your solution, to overcome this enemy. And your customer also has this enemy. So you both have this enemy in common. So type in the chat if you know what you're rebelling against, what your movement is about. Do you know what that is? I mean, software. This is what Salesforce.com rebelled against in 2006. They became wildly successful after this movement. They led a movement. They even had the dude dress up with his button, whatever, says no software. I don't know if you're as old as I am, but I remember this, and I was really amazed by how they went gloves off. Mark Benioff went gloves off, attacking software. This was the movement to the cloud. So, Michelle, disrupting traditional hiring practices. Yeah, so the old way of hiring doesn't work, and that is causing harm and detriment to your customers. So, many organizations do this. They figure out what they should be leading a movement towards and figure out in the same breath what are they moving against. So have you done this yet? And if so, type in the chat what's your movement about? And the reason why I'm bringing this up is the first shift because how could you expect GPT to write amazing, powerful thought leadership content if you're not actually thinking about what shifts need to take place in your industry and being that thought leader, having that thought leadership perspective. So, Charles, existing inefficiency in wound closure. Gotcha. Um, Pat, rebelling against the need for live people to book jobs and appointments. Great. Dominic, challenges and combats, separate offline and online identities, as well as phishing attacks. So phishing attacks and stealing online identities. Gotcha. So if you're going to lead a movement, the old way to do that is to just make claims on why you're the best thing out there, why we're the best. We're the best, and here's why. But the new way takes a better approach. Instead of saying like we're the best, it says, well, the old way is dead, it doesn't work, and here's why it doesn't work. And once you point that out, people recognize that, oh yeah, you're right. I mean, of course it doesn't work. Well, what's better? And then it leads them to the better way. So Chris Orleb mentions this effective nexus, and this is critical for great marketing. This is that first shift of leading a movement. If you really put down in one or two words, what is this? Uh, what is this villain of the story? What is this polarizing statement? It shakes their confidence in a good way. It changes how your buyer thinks about the problem, and it's polarizing. And it's a very clear statement. And so if you haven't done this yet, you really need to do it. And it's hard work, but we can definitely help you with that. So if you know what your polarizing statement is, what your statement is that challenges the status quo, type it in the chat. Let's see what it is. Charles, Pat, Dominic, Michelle, Renee, and Rajesh, type in the chat. What is your um, polarizing statement? So sooner, not later. I don't know what that means. That's very vague. It has to be very specific. If it's not specific, you're not going to stand out. In order to stand out, you have to know what you stand for. So sooner automation. Okay. So automate sooner. So automate sooner. Sooner than what? Like automate now. Like automate yesterday, I think, or be left behind, I think is what you're trying to say. Charles, transforming wound closure from a skill into a process. So you're saying, Charles, that in the old way was wound closure was a skill you had, and it was trapped in people's minds. But what you're saying is it's no longer needs to be trapped in people's minds. It's not a skill, it's a process. So that's interesting. Are you saying it's a process like machines could do wound closure through a process? So I'm confused about that, but I think you're speaking to some aspect of a revolution about how something is done. So if you're really clear, and you need to be clear as a leader of your business, and if you're not, we could help you, but you need to do this. To be clear, what do you want your ideal customers to stop doing? What do they need to stop doing? Because doing it that way is harming them, harming their business, harming their customer. And then be clear about what you need them to start doing. Because if they don't start it, then they will be left behind. So type in the chat here, what would you say stop to your customers and what would you say start to? This is the first shift. Back to Chris Voss, who I love. He says, stop chasing yes. In a negotiation, you should definitely stop trying to get yes from your partner. You should be trying to get a no and find out where they stand. Uh, like for example, in negotiation, you might say, are you good with where you're at today with your business? Are you absolutely good with your revenue today? And if they're not good, they'll be like, no, I'm not good. And that's the beginning of a great conversation. Instead of chasing a yes, would be, Would you like to make more revenue for your business? That's chasing a yes. So in the chat, give me a, I don't know, give me a yes. No, give me a no in the chat if you um, are you tracking with what this piece is about, by the way? That it's really powerful. Give me a no there. Yes, no, I know I'm a bit confusing. Yes, no. Anyway, so cognition was really clear about what they're telling our customers to say goodbye to. Say goodbye to spreadsheets and hello to connected information. If you're selling platforms or SaaS or even AI, this is also a really good way to help illustrate what you're inviting your customer to stop doing and what you're inviting them to start doing. All right. So I like to say stop hype marketing because that doesn't work anymore and lead a movement instead because that works so much better in your business. This is for aware.com, and you can see on their website, they're contrasting the old way of digital access with the new way, which is intelligent biometrics, in a very clear left bad, right good kind of model. So clear and simple is always best. And the people who aren't enrolled in the journey that you are trying to take them on are going to ignore you. Um, and that's a good thing because you can't market to everybody because not everybody is your customer. So sales is an act of leadership, and I think if you're going to lead a movement as a sales leader, as a CEO, you need to do this. So type in the chat. Do you also believe that sales is an act of leadership? Yes or no? Yeah. So lead a movement, lead an uprising, and get really clear on this. Welcome, Susan. So TED Talks. Imagine if you would do a TED Talk, you'd probably paint a world. Say, imagine a world where, and that's the world that you're trying to take people to, and you're also trying to encourage people to move away from a world that's not working for them. All right, so enough on this. If this is beginning to make sense, then that's great. Last piece on this piece about leading a movement is look at some of these hashtags that you're very familiar with from Just Do It from Nike, Trust Your Source from the Wall Street Journal, um, Make America Great Again. I'm sure you're familiar with that one. Own Your Tomorrow. That's Charles Schwab. Find Your Beach is Corona. So let me ask you, what do all of these have in common? So, if you ask ChatGPT to create a hashtag for you, unless you train it on what your rebellion is about and what your movement is about and what the promised land is that you're trying to take people to, it's not going to give you a powerful hashtag like this. So what do all of these have in common? What structure here might you train GPT on to help you create an amazing hashtag that grows like wildflowers? So Dominic, verb, yes, they all start with a verb. It's all about change. It's all about a calling to do something. Because that's what I believe that marketing and sales is about helping people change. Do you believe that too? Type that in the chat. Do you believe that marketing and sales is about helping people change? Yeah. So this is what Apollo is doing with their marketing, and I believe that marketing is about change. So type in the chat, what is your hashtag? So type in the chat your hashtag if you can, and what business you're in, so I can have some context. So if you have a hashtag already, if you're thinking about one, type it in the chat, and I'm happy to workshop with that with you to give you some thoughts if whether it fits in this model of change. All right. So as you're doing that, Jeff Aronson, he's the CEO of Equipex. Before he made these shifts and before he started using AI, confusing marketing content, pipeline is thin, letting key partners down, losing deals to no decision. And this is their website before. After he made the shifts, tripled revenue, 6x pipeline in just 4 months. Triple revenue happened in 6 months. Confidence in marketing spend, partners can easily sell, and so grateful that the business was finally materializing. So this is the after of the website, and you can see not just from a design perspective, but from a messaging, it's just so much clearer what the goal is and what the transformation story is. This is with a company called Tangible, and they're leading a movement here to contrast the old way versus the new way. The new way they're calling co-intelligent systems. The old way is paper-based systems. And that's really who their villain of the story is. All right. So in the chat, Jan, step up to the executive level, step up to the business leadership. So, Jan, I got a couple criticisms on that. Number one, is that a hashtag? Number one, is that a headline? Not sure. So what business is this? I'm confused. So I don't have context with that. So step up. So why? Why would I want to step up to the executive level? Is that just like go for the gold kind of message? I'm just not clear. Why is that such a good movement for you? So leading a movement has to be grounded in the problem, the thing that you're trying, like even Make America Great Again was, whether you like or hate Donald Trump doesn't matter. It really appealed from a marketing perspective at a world that a lot of people wanted and was trying to move away from a world that people don't like. So if you're going to lead a movement like step up to the executive level, Jan, doesn't really work because it assumes that means I'm moving up from a place that I'm not happy in. I don't know, just a little bit confused by that. All right, we're going to talk about Trisha later. I had really some amazing results after making some of these shifts. So shift number two, start with the problem. And so, by the way, I'm going into detail here because it's pretty easy to train up an AI. What's hard to do is train it with the right message, the right story, the right prompting, if you will. And I call prompting not prompting, but so much training so that you'll get the right results. And that's why we're spending time here. So, the second shift you need to make is to start with the problem. So, type in the chat here, why not start with your solution in your messaging? And why isn't solution centric messaging working anymore? Forget the stitch, escape the stitch. All right, so we need some context there, Charles. What's the business? Is it some new way of manufacturing clothing? That is about you, not your buyer. So, oh, that's interesting. So, Charles, thank you. Forget the stitch. Interesting. Escape the stitch. Interesting. Escape for, I don't know if those are the right words for that, because I think it would be good to be clever in that first verb that we're using. All right. So, why not start with your solution? That is about you, not your buyer. That's correct, Michelle. So, this is the reason why you should not start with your solution. Because look at this screen. These are logos of companies just in the marketing space. So if you're starting with your amazing logo that you spent so much time on creating because it's so beautiful, and you start with messaging about how great your solution is, why doesn't that work? It doesn't work because we're all living in markets full of noise, and solution-centric marketing doesn't work. The other reason why you need to start with the problem is because money follows pain in organizations. Pain flows throughout an organization. If something's broken, doesn't work right, there are ripple effects that happen to people in that organization. Is that right? You give me a yes or no in the chat. And so if you've spent any time in your career selling solutions to organizations, you will know that money follows pain. And you'll also know, if you spent any time selling, you'll know that customers buy more when they're feeling understood than them when they understand you. This is super powerful. And this is why you need to be starting with your problem. I like to call this the painkiller versus vitamin approach to positioning. And this is what you need to train your GPTs on, is that people are twice more likely to buy something to relieve pain than to gain something. And it's not my stats. I learned this, and that's because the money follows pain. And if you're still using solution speak, and if you ask GPT to create you content for around your solution, it won't answer three questions right out of the gate. It won't say why you need to change. GPT won't say why now, and it won't say why you need to change with your particular solution versus others, because it won't know. So the old way of pitching is you start with your solution, and the new way is you start with the problem. Let me share with you very clearly what this looks like, and you can give it a try in the chat. The old way is you're having GPTs saying, "We help companies achieve compliance," or we help organizations do better XYZ. That is pitching with a solution. Pitching with a problem says, "We help companies struggling with compliance or struggling or frustrated with this." That is pitching with the problem first. This is pretty clear, no? And so give it a try. In the chat, try to give a quote of how you help companies where it's framed with the problem first. This is like a pop quiz for your time with me in this once a month masterclass. Give me a quote here in the chat of how your pitch can start with the problem, a piece of it. Let's see how well you do. Because if you think about it as you're doing that, people will make buying decisions when the risk of doing nothing is greater than the risk of them to change. So there's always risk of changing, isn't there? There's always risk of changing. But clearly things have to really be bad and not tolerable any longer for them to overcome that risk of changing and where they're facing the risks of not doing anything. Like many of you are here because you're realizing that if you do not adopt AI in your business for sales, marketing, and growth, that the risk of doing nothing and being left behind is too great for your business. So maybe that's the reason why you're here. I don't know. I hope so, because I want to help you. So you really should look at people who find themselves along this mountain, and you're going to ignore a lot of people. You're going to educate some, you're going to influence others, and you're going to encourage the heck out of folks that are already realizing that the risk of doing nothing is too great. How does this feel, this chart? Does this chart make sense to you? Type in the chat. Does this make sense? We help companies manage identities in ever-changing universe of users. So in phishing attacks. So no, Dominic, that's not starting with the problem, that pitch. That's starting with a goal of managing identities in a changing universe of users. So I think you can rephrase that so it's almost like that rise in phishing attacks, almost like bring that far forward, like as phishing attacks damage organizations irrevocably. Uh, we help companies do what in that world? So start with the problem, start with the hook. It's so much better. It's like it works so much better in marketing. All right, Pat, we help businesses that need to book more jobs. So um, we help companies that so they need to book more jobs isn't problem centric. It's still solution centric because they're looking to book more jobs. That's a goal. That's not a problem. Pat, does that make sense to you? The desire in the future to book more jobs is a future goal, not a present problem. So what would your customers be experiencing in the present? Uh, what problem would they be seeing, hearing, feeling in the present moment uh, by all that? All right. Great. Oh, there's a lot there from Dominic. All right. Uh, okay, cool. So here's just some examples. Type in the comments below. What's the number one problem that you solve? What's the number one problem that you solve? Type in the chat. So this will help you because I see a couple of you are still as business innovators, as CEOs. I love you guys. I know every day you wake up and making a better product and helping your customers and you're all about your solution. But unless you dial this in for your AIs that you're training, your marketing is not going to work. It's just really going to suffer. And I want you to be successful. So let's get clear here. Type in the number one problem you solve. So time and skill in closure. So, is that a problem? Is time and skill and closure? I don't know why that's a problem. That's just a fact. That's a situation or a statement of fact. It's not a problem. Self-service bookings and lead capture. Why is that a problem? Is self-service bookings and lead capture? I don't understand. We solve that problem. So, what's the problem though that you solve? I get that you solve that, but what's the problem? So, Dominic, credential theft, that is a problem. Bingo, A plus for Dominic. So, y'all see that? So, Renee, so sorry, I'm going to give you a D minus on that. Eliminating manual inefficiencies is a goal. It's a future thing. It's not a present. So, manual inefficiencies is the problem. Manual, like what are they? Be specific. Like is it manual like folding laundry? Is folding laundry an inefficiency? Everybody does it. Like, nobody has robots folding my laundry or your laundry. So, I mean, why do I need I mean, really? So be really specific because not everybody is interested in eliminating manual inefficiencies if there isn't uh, like a way that's like a no-brainer to do it. So, Renee, workflows. I don't know what the context is there. Sorry. Customer success leaders don't feel heard at the executive level and don't know how to make an impact on their companies. So, to summarize, customer success leaders um, are isolated. They feel isolated, and um, uh, their efforts are neutered, or efforts are wasted. So that's a problem. So I love it. So this is where we're getting close to the nub. And so forgive me, but believe it or not, most CEOs that we work with really struggle to nail the problem that they're solving. And I'm not really sure why that is. Maybe you can tell me why that is. But from a marketing perspective, it is essential to dial in that problem so that your customers, when they see your message, your prospect, your the prospective customers see your message anywhere in your marketing, they get how well you understand their problem, and that in itself leads to authority. Um, the other way to market is to share stories about how great you are, how long you've been in business, and your why. But nobody cares about your why. People believe in the things that they themselves decide, not the things you tell them. You can't tell them what they should believe or what they should do. So, for example, Renee, if you told me I need to eliminate my manual inefficiencies, okay, I don't believe you. I'm sorry. But if you can describe my problem of what I'm experiencing better than I can, I will automatically believe that you have the best solution for me. But Renee, you have not done that yet. So you got to do that. All right. This is great. ReadyWorks is the after effect. You saw their previous site earlier. They did a really bang up job on the revision of their messaging and their marketing. They're doing so well right now. Putting patience before paper. So, in a way, like that's the problem that they're solving for their customers, making sure giving them technology that allows the doctors and nurses to spend time with patients, not with not with paper. And it's so simple. Anyway, if this is beginning to make sense and you want to work on this, happy to work with this on you. You can book a session with us as well. We're an agency. We help businesses do this and dial in their AIs. Um, but anyway, if this makes sense, give me a yes in the chat. Makes sense. We guide your patient through your complicated health system. All right. So the problem is health systems are complicated, Susan, and patients are lost. They give up navigating themselves, which causes them suffering and their families suffering. So that's like, let's pull off the band aid. Let's get real clear about what the problem is. Let's not sugarcoat it and jump to the solution. All right. Warren Johnson, ScribeX, actually providing an AI medical scribe service before he made the shifts in marketing, not using AI, of course. Now he is. They all using AI in this business. He was having good salespeople leaving, stagnant growth, value of innovation wasn't getting across, missing forecasts. Afterwards, went from 137 customers to nearly 3,000 in 12 months. So this really works. It works not just because they're using AI, but they're using AI in the right way. All right. Let's fast forward here. As I like to say, the best salesperson won't save you, and even the best AIs won't save you. It's just not going to work for you. Fancy GP prompts won't save you because they're hit or miss and they're not trained right. They're trained from marketing from 2015. All right, so if this is beginning to make sense for why you need to start with the problem, type in, yep, YEP or anything you like, and let's move forward with a third shift. All right, third shift is make your customer, as I have a candy here in my mouth, I really shouldn't do that. Make your customer the hero. So I know that you want to make your customer the hero. Everybody wants to make their customer the hero, but let's just get clear on what story means. And I've studied story in different ways, from acting to um, marketing. But so if they're the hero, who does that make you? Type in the chat. Who does that make you if they are the hero? Stephen, Pat, Dominic, Susan, Patrick, Jebin, Heather. Let's hear for some folks that are lurking. Charles, Jan, Flo. If they are the hero, who does that make you? Mentor, villain. Hopefully, it doesn't make you the villain of the story. So it really should make you the mentor or the guide, the enabler. Yeah, not the sidekick. So if you're the guide or the mentor, who's the villain of the story? So who's the villain of your story? Type that in the chat if you know. So, love has to play a role here in every good story. And if I were to go to your website right now, and I would ask myself, who is this voice of the marketing that's coming through on your website? Who is it in love with? Is the voice in love with the solution that you're selling, or is it in love with me, your ideal customer? Type in the chat. It's either my solution or my customer. Type in the chat. Be honest. What's your homepage obsessively in love with? Dominic. Okay, you're honest. Honest man there. Honest man. Absolutely. All right. Yeah, so it's time to make a change. You haven't made this shift and you do need to make it. And everybody wants to do it. Very few people know how to do it. And it gets the focus you need to give GPT and then the training is the voice. You need to tell GPT what is your voice. You are the voice of what? The voice of the guide. In and then the voice will be writing copy about how we make you better instead of why we're the best. It's about making your customers better, and it's a shift in the voice. If your marketing's voice is why we're the best, then your marketing is saying we are the hero. Does that make sense? Type in the chat, makes sense. If it does, this is really, really important. Here's some examples of when it, before bad website, after a great website, when it's just so clear what the voice is. Because I believe that what you're really selling, and I think you probably believe this too, is yes, you're selling a solution, but really what you're selling is helping customers change to doing things differently so that they could arrive at a future state, a better state, making their world and their customers' world better. That's what I believe that you are really selling, and you probably agree. And so the job of marketing is to really help people change and positioning yourself as that trusted guide like Mike Rafiki in the story of the Lion King, or Yoda in the story of Star Wars, or Mary Poppins in the story of Mary Poppins. We all love great stories. And Maverick, if you saw Top Gun Maverick, also a great movie. So yeah, the guide there was Iceman, was the guide there. It was wonderful. All right. So, otherwise, you are just using GPT to spin up copy that sounds something like this. My company provides a unique, complex solution leveraging revolutionary technology, blah, blah, blah. And you sound like everybody else, just like what GPT is giving everybody else. But if you want GPT to spin up branded copy that really sounds unique, that's leading thought leadership copy and leading a movement and dialed in your voice, that you need to be doing this. And if you train the GPT right, it'll also give you calls to action that are more like calls to value. Instead of the generic learn more or get started, your calls to action will be very specific, designed to speak to who your customer is. So I just want to pop out of here for a second because I was working on this um, as a descriptor here of like what it is we're talking about. So we're talking about AI integrated sales and marketing enablement. And on the right side here, this is like getting to a place where you have 100% on-brand content machine that you own, that's like a sales generating asset launch pad where you can produce emails and blog posts and proposals and marketing newsletters, all for pennies on the dollar, pennies on the $100. Lead magnets. If you want that, that's great, but you're not going to get that unless you build out your training. And I call it's a magnetic messaging framework, and it's a document. You need to create this where you can have us do it for you. It's a 25-page framework or 30-page framework, it depends. that starts with interviews, intakes with your leadership, and maybe even your validation with ideal customers and partners. That needs to be developed. Your homepage wireframe, text and design needs to be done. That's like the foundation. That's your North Star messaging training data. That is what gets put into the train GPT. You train that with that, and then boom, that's your launch pad. But just to even go back further, like what are we talking about? Like what's happening in this magnetic messaging framework? It's getting clear on who is this for? Who is your ideal customer? What is the industry's biggest problem? What is your offer? What is the next industry shift that you see and that your ideal customers also see that shift coming? And guess what? You're going to help them with that shift. What is the name of the movement that you're leading? The name of that. Like, what are you calling that? It can't just be a fuzzy, vague name. It's got to be very specific. What is the name of your totally unique category that you're selling in? Yes, you're in a category now, wound care, for example, or employee hiring, but what is the totally unique category that separates you from any other competition out there and basically puts you in a category of one? And exactly how you should be using AI to 25x your growth. This is the strategy stuff that needs to happen inside this here in order to get you to this launch pad here on the right. All right, so I'm just showing people this for the first time. No one's ever seen this before. Just give me some feedback. Does this make sense to you? That, oh, I see what we want. If I want that on the right side, I got to go through step one in order to get really clear on what my strategy, what my positioning is, so that the AIs can do its job. So give me a make sense if that makes sense to you here. And we're going to go into the shift number 4 and 5 very quickly. Great. Great, awesome. All right, so let's go back here, and then let's get into the shifts here. So yeah, definitely book a meeting with us if you would like to get clear in your specific domain. Patricia, I'll talk about her later, but she is a CEO of a company that was just sold for a really shiny penny, and this was after she had made the shifts and is using AI to grow. So it's really wonderful to tell her story. All right. So if we have time at the end, type in your URL, and I'm happy to give a quick take on your site in front of this group. I promise to be nice, not too vicious. All right. Um, all right. So number 4, the fourth shift you need to do is name your category. So GPT is going to want to stick you into a category, and that's fine, but you need to create your own unique category that differentiates you from any other competition out there. And GPT won't do this unless you train GPT to do this. So look at here, the prefix has changed throughout the years, but it's always been a phone. In your industry, what is your industry? Type in the chat, and it's typically a pre-word that you'll want to add. So Apple's adding spatial computing to the computing side. So it's like you've got computing, and Apple is a company within the computing world, and inside Apple, they're creating a unique category called spatial computing. So it's existing category, existing market, known products, and then on top of that is your product, your unique category. So NVIDIA is called accelerated computing. So again, these leaders in their industry are adding a word in front of an existing category to make them unique. So type in the chat here, do you have a sense of what your existing category is and what your unique category is? This is what you need to train GPT on in the magnetic messaging framework so that it can help you provide that thought leadership. Needle-free wound closure. I love that. So CS, business leadership. I don't know what CS means. Self-service booking. So it's not just bookings, it's self-service bookings, which I don't know if that is such a unique category because Calendly and Zoom all have self-service bookings. So the uniqueness needs to be so specific, like Apple Intelligence, not just AI, it's Apple Intelligence as a category. Comfort ownership. It's not just ownership of equipment, it's ownership of the comfort that they're leasing HVAC equipment. So patient navigation isn't a category because I would say you need a prefix in front of that, Susan, to make it a more specific category. Patient navigation is That's I don't know if that is even a category. So look up, like if you went to Google and say, what category is my business in? What would Google say? And it'll tell you. So like, let's be clear. What is your existing category? Um, Compliance or insurance, or what is your category? So the reason why you want to do this, you want to create a unique category, is this is how you beat Bobby Fischer, is you basically play him at any game but chess. And this is how you separate yourself from and position yourself different and better from your competitors. It's really important that you do this. It's critical. I want you to do this. So look at some of these companies that have added the word in front of or in the back of existing categories. So Clipper, video libraries is the old way. The new way is video intelligence. By the way, intelligence is a hint. If you're using AI in any of your core business, by adding the word intelligence in front of your existing category is like a free giveaway here. So one of our clients, they're doing freight forwarding. They're in the freight forwarding business, and they're using some really cool technology to help their clients do it in a better, cheaper, faster, safer way. So we're adding the word intelligent to freight forwarding, and that's their thought leadership. Intelligent freight forwarding. It's simple and powerful. And that's why you need to do this. So you can see other organizations here have done this. Dropbox, calling it a smart workspace. They did that in 2019. So you can use the word smart or intelligent if you're using AI component. But if you're not using AI, still, you could add a word in front of an existing category like predictive logistics, clear metal. All right. So that's the fourth shift that you need to make. Type in the chat, what is your unique category? Derived authentication. So I like that, even though I don't know what derived means, but it sounds technical. And so authentication is the existing category. Good, good, good. So Flo, let's see what your unique category is, and let's jump in. So if this makes sense to you, you really need to dial in what the name of your unique category is. Type in makes sense in the chat. All right. Expense intelligence. Oh, I love that, Flo. Nailed it. So yeah, so if you're using software, this is the graduate level here. Definitely, add intelligence to that. It's wonderful. All right. So the secret weapon. I love the secret weapon, and we talked about this at the beginning, and the four shifts now make sense because if you have a core messaging framing document that you create, then you're going to be able to train a GPT. And that core message document also has to say what words not to use. So on the screen here, have you noticed any of these words showing up in language and wording that GPT is writing for you? Just give me a yes or no in the chat. Look at these words that are on the screen. Yes. And why is that? Why is that ChatGPT is giving us these words? Can anyone tell me in the chat why GPT is giving me these words, us these words? Well, I'll tell you. It's learned, it's what's out there. It's what's out there, it's what's been trained on, over the last several years. And so if you don't want your marketing, your website, your proposals to sound like AI, you you need to use AI, but the way you need to use it is to train it. And this is the secret weapon. Get AI to become your marketing expert in your brand voice, and there's three steps to it. One, engage an outside expert to facilitate interviews with select customers, executive team members to define the most effective problem-centric messaging. Two, use the Fine framework to train a custom GPT that generates that content and then transform your website, presentations, emails, and marketing that gets 25x easily efficiency on the dollar. And you can definitely do this. We do this in two ways, typically over a 3-month engagement. And there's lots of things that happen, but month one is where that messaging intakes, discussions, and we basically create a positioning team at organizations and dial in that messaging, answer all these questions, agree on who we are, exactly who we're selling to, exactly what the plan is for our customers. Get really clear on that. Because if you're clear on that and it's in a document, then you can train the AIs. So the AIs know what the current problems are in their own voice and what beliefs your customers have and what beliefs you have and what beliefs you share with your customers, your ideal customers. Or what's the injustice? What are the triggers? These questions are the ones that need to be answered. And then the result is a document, like a 25-page document that is training data. Yes, it's training data for the GPT. So you do have to go through this work. If you don't do it, you are going to just experience what we've been talking about. You do need to do that work and get to that level 3 here, where you're using AI, using chat memory built on a custom GPT for your team. That's why we're an AI integrated sales and marketing agency. And we're doing lots of things from AI podcast. We're building AI desks. We're building AI cold email automations. My team is doing some amazing things, showing amazing efficiencies for our clients. And it's all done. It all starts with making these shifts, building out the GPT, and then getting to that launch pad. Um, Getting to that launch pad. So this is the 3 steps. And where's that launch pad here? Do I have that picture of that? Yes. This launch pad here. To get to arrive over here, do this work, and then you'll be in the golden spot here, being able to do all this great stuff for very, very cheaply and very effectively. That is the 5th shift. All right, so now it's time for giveaways. The giveaways are giveaway time, the 16-part magnetic messaging framework. Let me share the handout with you. You'll see in the upper right-hand corner of this right now. Um, then you'll also see in the chat, I'm going to give you the 12 sales conversations that open minds and close deals. You'll see that there in the link. And I'm also going to give you another link, which is the GPT that you could use for free. And you could ask it questions about your own website, and it's going to answer those questions as if it's been trained on the magnetic messaging framework. So it gives you a score and gives you things to think about. Um, because we can't possibly work with every company in the world, although maybe one day, but we'll do that through AI. So we won't be able to do the in-person stuff. So if you want in-person stuff, you can book a call. And so here's the idea. If you want to book a call with us, have a discussion about what you're doing today, exactly where you would like to go, and discuss the gap and getting clear on what to do and get a game plan and getting it done. We'll do that in that call. So it's absolutely free. And you can just book through scanning the QR code on the screen, or you can click on the offer button and click on that. And so I gave you the giveaway, and I'm also going to give away the book. Where's my book? Here. Let me, in the chat, I'm giving away a copy of this 137-page book. I don't know who actually is going to read 137 pages on your screen, but you never know. Maybe you're that kind of person. But the content is in that book. And if you want, you can upload that to GPT and ask it questions. So essentially, you're talking to the book that I wrote. So, uh, lots of giveaways. I want you guys to be wildly successful because I believe that you're here today because you've got an amazing product, and it's going to make your customers' world better and the world better by getting it in their hands. And that's my mission as well. I want to make sure you're doing that and doing that without the interference and the obstacles of bad marketing. That happens. So I would encourage you to book a session with me. Please do that. If we're the right fit, then definitely do that, because it's hard to see what should be outside the box when you're inside the box. And that's what you'll get from the book at Storycraft. It really forces you to have an outside in approach. Because if you don't have an outside in approach, it's going to be hard to do it alone. The marketers that you hire, and you're maybe currently hiring, they're typically not paid to take an opposing view, are they? They're paid to take a view that makes you feel really good about your product. But the customers that you want to get don't necessarily feel good about your product. They just feel really bad about the problem that they're experiencing, which most marketers don't dive into too much. They don't like to talk about that ugly, difficult, painful stuff that your customers are facing if they don't do anything. All right. So if you don't hire an outside expert, you likely won't be using a proven positioning framework. you'll likely be stuck in a solution-driven idea pool, and you'll continue to waste money on marketing that doesn't work. And I don't want that to happen. Um, so yeah, I'd like to say don't hire marketers, hire sales enablers. And that's what I believe AI is going to help you do. It's not about marketing, it's about helping you grow. And so please book a session with us and so that we can help you. So, any questions or comments you want to ask, something that wasn't clear, I would say the five shifts, just to recap, the five shifts are this: to be successful, you want to lead a movement. That is the groundwork for your thought leadership. It is to start with the problem in your messaging, to make your customer the hero in your messaging, to name your unique category in your messaging, and use the secret weapon, which is training up your GPT with all that. So I would say, you have a choice. You can do nothing, you can go it alone, or you can get help. And I really want to encourage you to get help, because that's the fast track to getting this right. There's a huge first movers advantage to using AI, and I want you guys to have that advantage, because folks that aren't using AI are going to be left behind or outspent, because AIs can get things done a lot cheaper if you know how to do it. All right. So, is there anyone here that wants me to review their website still? To put in your website in the chat, and we'll spend a couple of minutes doing that. Um, if not, we will wrap up in just a minute. All right. Got a couple URLs there. And I wanted to just say, what was this? Yeah, don't book. We talked about this. If you're here, you're probably committed to your vision. And if you're okay with where your business is, I would say please do not book a call. I don't have unlimited time. I'm not doing this for everybody. So if you don't have a viable product with happy customers, do not book. This model only works if you've got a product with happy customers. And if you can't or won't invest time or money in your business, please do not book, because it's going to take success is going to take that kind of speed and action. Okay, so let's look at some of these websites here. Let me open up my browser. Let's go to Pat. We have an AI.ai, which I don't think stands for AI. I think it stands for some country that starts with A for some reason. But that's just how the whole internet domain thing shook out. All right, so Zappy AI designed for home services. So I have a picture of a man, half robot. Self-service AI agents that know your business and industry. AI-powered solutions. I have no idea what you're selling. I have no idea who you're selling to. I don't know who this is for. I um, I don't want to start today because I don't know what the process is. If I start today, if I click start today, oh, I see pricing, get leads, get schedule. Okay. So there's so many questions in my mind when I hit this about what this is. Why do I need this? What problem is this solving for me? So this was Pat. Pat, was this helpful? Like, I'm missing some pieces, some fundamental pieces to your story that need to be there in order for this to work for you. Yeah. Okay, cool. All right, let's go over to Jan. Jan, good to see you, Jan. Stop waiting for an invitation to claim your seat at the executive table. Advance your CS role as a post-sales revenue leader today. Get the free guide. So there's a guide, but do you ultimately just want me to get a guide, or is there something that you're selling here? Courses? Are you selling courses? I don't know what you're selling here. Are you giving away a guide? Are you giving what you're selling coaching? All right. You selling coaching to who? Who? Who are you sell what type of people, what type of organizations are you selling coaching to? So I'm missing that piece right away. Are you selling it to individuals, to people, like anybody? And is it just anybody, like my mom who's retired and likes to experiment with things? Oh, no, no, not retirees. So people who are early in their career or growth stage career people, like, who is this for? I'm missing that. Um, So also, like, this is a call to action for getting the free guide, but I'm missing a headline here completely of like I'm missing it of what's the rebellion against? What world are you trying to take me to? What future world? What's the promised land here? So there's core elements of your story that are just missing from this. Is it like be the best I can be? Am I ready to get acquainted? I don't know. I've got 3 choices: apply, learn more. Oh my gosh, I got 3 choices. They're all orange buttons and I don't know what to click. I'm not going to click anything. So when you give people visual cues like this with buttons, door number 1, door number 2, it's like too confusing. Your homepage should have a singular call to action. Okay, it can have a primary call to action and a secondary call to action. But if you've got all these buttons that are here, I'm sorry, it's just too confusing, and people won't know what you want them to do. Like, get up on the dance floor. That's what I want you to do. So I like the fact you've got 1, 2, and 3. This calls my eye, but then I read it. Growth, respect, elevation. This is just too vague and too amorphous. Like, what am I going to get from Jan Young CX? So I hope I wasn't too harsh on this, Jan, but there's some fundamental messaging pieces here that need to be worked on. And yeah, good luck. Hopefully, you can work on that and we can help you. All right, expand. Salesforce native expense. This is from Flow. A big heart to Jan and Pat. Salesforce native expense and app management. So this is your category. This is not a headline for a website, it's a category. The manage expenses and accounts payable in Salesforce and Quick. So this, interesting, that's more like a headline than this is. I think you got these swapped. This has got to be your eyebrow because that's your category. And then you can put a unique eyebrow, like how is this different than other competitors out there? So expand seamlessly converts receipts and invoice into Salesforce records. So there are at least 50 companies that do this. So I guess what I'm missing is differentiation. So do this without how your competitors do it, like without or even if. I'm missing the problem here completely. This is all about goal oriented, save time, enhance accuracy, enjoy simplicity. But where is the problem that you're solving for me? Okay, no problem visible here. So learn more about our story. So you probably have a great story, and that's good for trust building, but I think you're missing too many more fundamental pieces here. So I like one thing, book a demo. It's clear that's what you want me to do. Book a demo, but your view more is the same color button as the book a demo. And I hope when I hit this, that yes, book a demo. And I click book a demo, then I get hit with this form, and this is where I say most of your deals are going to die. You do not do this. Do not have a form that pops up on the screen. So you're like, well, what should we do? Instead, if someone's willing to click on this button to book a demo, what should pop up is a calendar where I'm booking Tuesday at 2 o'clock. And once I pick Tuesday at 2 o'clock, then I'm putting in this information. Because what happens with this is someone fills this out, and correct me if I'm wrong, but a lot of your forms that get filled out will likely get like in an email back and forth, and your demo will never get set up. And I think I saw a percentage stat on this, like 73% of forms that get filled out do not result in demos being booked unless the date and time was committed to first. So that's just a tactical thing for you. That was flow. But besides that tactical thing, you're missing, I think, 6 sections on your homepage that need to be here. Problem, in my own words, in my words as a customer, I like your plan here, but let's see how it works. Process step, process step, process step. Why is that so 4 times? Process step, receipts. I don't know. It feels like this is dummy copy if it's saying process step so many times. So this is how to use the software, and this doesn't belong. It's more like how do I get started? Like book a demo was the first step. Step 2, subscribe to choose your subscription model. And step 3, see 10x efficiency in your whatever. So that would be a three-step process. This is more of a process on different things you could use with your app. Do you see the difference there, Flo? Put yourself in the shoes of your customer there. They really want to understand if they were to book a demo, if that's the step one, what's step two and step three? Does that helpful, Flo? Yes or no? All right. So, last one, and we're gonna go. I love you guys. I appreciate your time, and I'm sure you appreciate mine. I sound like Mr. Hand from Fast Times at Ridgemont High. All right, so skin closure. This is from Charles. Non-invasive skin closure. Okay, so this is wound care. All right, so I know immediately what it is that you're selling. I know who you're selling it to. The call to action is learn more so far, and then I see shop now. So I see you're wanting to people to buy. Okay. So this is looks like a business to consumer kind of thing, but I imagine you have a much bigger untapped business where you're selling to organizations and your website is not doing that right now. So like military. So shop now. So I don't know about that. I kind of think if you're going to do a deal with the military or do a deal with professional that they would be on a much larger scale than this. But correct me if I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong about that. Maybe they just buy as they need it, like they're shopping in Target. But I think that you're leaving a lot of business on the table by not doing going B2B here. Oh, Charles, you were right. Okay. Anyway, in terms of this is a clear product kind of sale. So the magnetic messaging framework that we developed applies slightly differently to a B2C model. But if you're selling it to organizations, then the magnetic messaging framework works a lot better than this. All right. So with that in mind, guys, I want to thank you. Oh my gosh, we're on the phone here for an hour and a half. I hope this was useful to you. Again, I want to wish you guys massive luck. I want you to be wildly successful. And if we can help you dial this in, get your AI built up in no short order, very quick time frame. That's really going to help your business, and I know it's going to help your customers ultimately be successful because that's why you're in business. Anyway, want to wish you best of luck, Godspeed, much love, and we'll see you guys soon.